Label properties help you categorize your object types. So I am in a book object, which is of course an example of the book object type. And in my type, I have assigned a reading status through a label property because that is useful information that I want to know for all instances of my book object type. It's a simple drop-down menu with 3 statuses that are relevant only to my books and my reading, and they look like this. This is what label properties are for. It's for looking at one specific type and basically deriving categories from that. So another example with books might be whether they're fiction or non-fiction, and by putting this information into my book objects, I can then filter on that. So I'll show you how this works and how to set that up. So if I go to Add Property, Label, and in this Label Set section, this is where you define the drop-down menu that you want to see. So obviously for this, it's a simple one with just 2. So I can add them to the set. You can add icons or change the colour through the 3 dots here. I'm happy with those though, so I now have that set, and I need to make sure to click Apply Changes as well. Now I am able to say whether something is fiction or non-fiction, and this property will show up in every book object that I have ready for me to fill in. It will not be able to be used in a different object type. That is not the point of the labels. Once you've got your labels, you can use them like you would any other property, meaning I could create a query that looks for all my non-fiction books. So I'm going to return all books filtered by the fiction property, and I only want it to include non-fiction. Call this non-fiction books, and I want to make sure that it's pinned to my dashboard so that when I open up my book object type like this, I have a section for my non-fiction books. As soon as another non-fiction book is added to this space with that non-fiction label, it will appear here. So I've added another book here, I'll label it with non-fiction, and that's going to appear in this view. So there's one example of how you can use labels. I'll show you another one. This is a very basic meeting note, obviously, but you can see that I have a property here called meeting type. And within this, there are several different types of meetings that I could have. And by adding this as a label property, it means that I can create a query like this, where I'm just looking for my one-to-one meetings and I have easy access to them through my meeting object type dashboard. You can see it's a super simple query, just where the meeting type includes this label. You can include multiple labels if you want, or just one. The setup obviously depends on your use cases, but all in all, labels are easy ways of just looking at one of your object types a bit more specifically, and then you're able to use that property in queries such as this. So if you're thinking about where best to use labels, you can have a look at your object type list in the sidebar here and ask yourself if there's a certain category of those things, a certain subsection of those things that you would like to see together, and a label can help group that. But if you've been using Capacities since before this label property addition, you might be wondering how this fits in with previous advice and previous ways of achieving what I just said label properties do. One example of how we could get this kind of drop-down menu before is with something like this. This, for example, is a property that I created that helped me categorize the types of locations that I was identifying. But you can see that it isn't a label, it's a tag. So when I click on it, it opens up this tag view. Now looking at this tag, I see that I have only ever used the city tag for the purpose of categorizing locations. I haven't used it anywhere else, because if I had, it would show up here. With this in mind, this is a perfect example of where using a label property can help, because it is doing exactly what label properties are for, and that is more narrowly defining types of location. So if you're in the situation where you have existing properties that use tags like this and you want to turn them into a label property, you can. You want to open up the settings of that property and scroll down to change property type. Choose label, read the disclaimer, and then if you're happy, click change type. In the background, Capacities has had a look at this set of tags that you've previously used, and it has created label properties for you here, which you can edit again with colours and icons if you would like. We keep the previous property just so that you can be happy that everything has transferred over properly. So I put them together side by side here, and you can see that they have mapped over exactly. That means that I'm happy to delete this property because I've verified it's done what I wanted it to do. And now I just have my label property ready for me to use. If you make this change, be sure to also update any of your queries, because the property that the query was originally looking for no longer exists. So you just have to switch it over to your label, and then it's done. Now, what are the benefits of using a label property over tags, especially if you've already got your tag property set up? We like to say very often with Capacities that if your system is working, there's no need to change it. But tags are so powerful, and people find it really helpful to have a very specific use case for tags rather than have lots of different things all together. The purpose of tags is to bring content that is related by topic, by context, by theme together into this one view from across your space. So the example I like to use is this curiosity tag, where I've got all sorts of object types together in one view because they all have something in common with curiosity. And this visualization and the ability to filter, sort, and change the view of these tag pages is what makes them so powerful. And we heard from users that combining this with very simple tags, which were only needed for categorization, such as with cities or with fiction or non-fiction, it felt like it was cluttering the tag type up, and it's not necessary. So the label property is the answer to that, and it's still very flexible, but it's more realistic in the sense that if you're already using tags for just one type only, now you've got a purpose-built property just for that. This means that you can think in more concrete terms. Tags are the glue that brings your objects and your blocks from anywhere across your space together if they have some shared context, if they have a shared topic, if they have a shared theme. Tags are perfect for that. If you're just looking to categorize, use a label. Before I end the video, I just want to give a summary of how you can think about labels, tags, and collections, because this shifts things a little bit. So as mentioned throughout the video, labels help you categorize within one object type. So your properties just look at a smaller subsection of any of your types. Tags are the opposite. They're about looking outwards, about looking between your types and connecting things together. So if you have a tag that is only used in one place, like the city tag was, now that I've changed it to a label, I have no need for this tag, so I can delete it. Whereas my ratings tag has both places and a book in it. Therefore, switching to a label for ratings would not work in my system, because I want to pull everything together from across my space just based on its rating. The context that they share is that I rate them very highly, and therefore I would like to see all those things together. So there might still be times where you do want to have a drop-down menu of your tags rather than of labels, and that's absolutely fine. But just ask yourself whether you want to be drilling down and looking deeper into one type, or if you want to be pulling things together in a very expansive way, a very global way across your whole space. And if you want that, that's when you use tags. So where does that leave collections? Because I've often said in the past that collections help you create little subgroups of your object types. That's still true. But the good thing about having a label property is how structured it is. So I know that because I have added this property to my type, I'm able to fill in this property for every book. And I also have that visual reminder to do so because it's part of the properties section. That structure is nice. And it's also really helpful for creating queries, as you saw before, and that's how we get nice sections at the top of your object types like this. So that means that collections are sort of less structured, which means I think they make the perfect opportunity for basically curating lists of things. So for example, beautiful cover images, or songs that mean a lot to you, or meetings that you found went particularly well. Whatever the case is, using a collection is a great way to sort of hand pick items from within one of your object types that aren't based on kind of rules. It's not saying it's a beautiful cover image because the author was this person or because I finished it in January. It's just you giving your opinion. And that sort of type of curation is really, it can be really fun. And I think that is what a collection can help you with now that we have the label property, which is again that more structured approach to this. And of course, if you're on Capacities Basic, you don't have access to queries, so collections can help you organise your content in more ways as well. So that's everything for this label property as the introduction, but also what to do if you've been using other organisational structures in Capacities beforehand. If you have any questions about this, please let me know in the comments below.